Do you have someone in your corner that can see the blind spots that you can't see on a day-by-day basis? Everybody can benefit from having that coach in their corner. If I am going to get somebody to get outside their comfort zone as the prospect, right? I'm trying to help someone protect their family. I am kidding myself if I'm not willing to do that on my end. Most salespeople just aren't willing to look past the lies that they tell themselves every day that they're actually there to help somebody. And this is because they buy into that from the prospect. They're just buying in every time they get an objection. It just keeps filling up that cup. The question is, why is that? Why are there so many salespeople out there, especially in final expense, that are mediocre? Well, that's because...
Do you have any sort of promo code that we can offer our viewers to buy an EPQ if they watch this video? Anything?
What I can do is...
All right, welcome to Final Expense Telesales. My name is Dana Neeson. Thank you so much for being with me today. I have another special guest on the podcast for you. And today we have former VP of Sales for 7th Level, who is now VP of Revenue for 7th Level, better known to you guys as NEPQ. Welcome, Anthony Vizzari.
Dana, it's awesome to be here. Me and you go back a few years, so I'm happy we've done a full circle and we've reconnected.
Absolutely. I am a huge fan of yours, arguably probably one of your biggest, and love watching your content online. You just articulate words so well. And I'm really hoping to be able to provide some value today to the people that are watching this. So I'm going to start just by asking you a few questions about sales in general, some of the things that you see in training people in our space. And then we're going to do some role playing today. You up for that?
You're gonna throw me in the hot seat. I like it. Let's do it.
I do, because you're the best. You are the best.
Hey, I'm not that cool, but thank you for the compliment.
I'm excited. Okay. So I know that life insurance is either the number one or the number two industry for you guys. Which one is it? One or two?
It kind of in and out. It's around the second. Some months it will go the first. It just varies. So let's say one or two. How about that?
One or two. Okay. And then of insurance, where does final expense fit in that? Because I know you do a lot of higher ticket insurance, IULs, mortgage protection, term, larger investment insurance products. Where does final expense fit into that niche?
It's within the top three, like you said. I would probably say if we looked at the numbers, it'll probably be once again one or two. So we have we'd probably have thousands of sales reps in the final expense. We also do IULs, annuities, and all of that, but final expense would play a really large role in the sales reps and businesses that we train.
Okay. And for the people who are in final expense that invest with NEPQ, and you don't know any of these questions I'm going to ask you, so you are not prepared to give me any answers. Yeah. We won't hold you accountable. What percentage of those people do you think need the additional support that like the inner circle offers, if that's even what you're calling it now, like that extra one-on-one hands-on coaching? What percentage of people do you think actually need that?
Yeah, if I was to answer the question more from like an overall, how many people in general, regardless of what it is, whether it's what we do or whatever somebody else does, I think the question is how many people need further support or that guidance. I think it's 100% of people. And the reason I say that is you can go through some videos, you can go through some basic training, as you know, Dana, but there's always the element of the coach. If you look at the most successful people in the world in any arena, I'm talking business, I'm talking sports, even what we do sales, the top 1%, they all have what? They all have a coach. There's a reason for that. So it's about, do you have someone in your corner that can see the blind spots that you can't see on a day-by-day basis? Everybody can benefit from having that coach in their corner.
Okay, so what percentage of that 100% that needed actually take advantage of it? Oh
Well,
no.
as you know,
It is.
that's going to be little. It's going to be. You still got me, Dana?
Yeah. You froze for a second, but we have you.
I froze for a second. All right, perfect. Yeah, I think once again in any arena that number is going to be really minuscule. We just ran a challenge. I'll give you an example, and we have
Okay.
around 25 to 30,000 people register every time. But every time we're only going to have roughly around 1 in 5 people show up. So
Mm-hmm.
these numbers are expected in life. That there's a people out there, they say they want to do something, but they don't go that step further to actually get the help. So I'll give you an example. Why in our lifetime is there only one Michael Jordan? Why is there only one Tiger Woods? And it comes down to mediocrity scales exponentially.
Hmm.
Excellence scales incrementally. Why is that? The question is, why is that? Why are there so many salespeople out there, especially in final expense, that are mediocre? Well, that's because most people out there, they're willing to do the bare necessities that put them in the mediocre many bracket. There's only a few. Almost nobody is willing to do what it takes to become one of the fantastic few. That's what separates the top 1%, like yourself, versus everybody else.
Wow, I really love what you just said. And I hope that people rewind it and listen to it again because it is so important. So before I hit record, I had asked you a question, and now, of course, I was like, don't give me the answer. It's already so good. What was I saying about what are you seeing? Oh, I know what it is. It
Yeah.
was where are the final expense or where are the insurance people? Where do they need the coaching the most? What part of the sales
Yeah.
process?
Right from the start. And I'm a big believer in this. You would remember this from when I was training part of your team a few
Yeah.
years back. I'm a big believer is the way you start the call is the way the call ends.
Hmm.
So there are so many people that will come to my coaching sessions, for example, in final expense, and they will say, "Hey, Anthony, at minute like 35, I've got this like partner objection or think about it objection. Can you just play that and tell me how I should respond?" And I
Right.
say, "Great. Go to the start of the call and play me the first 3 seconds of your call." "Oh no, but I want that." No. We go into the start of the call because what caused that objection? What did you
Right.
say at the start that triggered someone to not want to buy from you? Because as you know, Dana, if you do the call correctly, you shouldn't get objections at the end, right? So it's
Right. And
definitely the
yeah.
start of the call. It's right at the start. They don't know how to disarm. They don't know how to reduce sales resistance. They do not know how to drop the prospect's guard. You're calling an industry. They get thousands of calls every single year. Their phone is dialing. You're not the first person that called them. They've had enough. So if you can't separate yourself from all the other agents that are blowing their phone up every single day, they just put you in the same bracket. That's where most people struggle.
And so when that happens, because our prospects are so good at that, they're so good at putting us in those buckets that you just described. And if we can't be the differentiator to them to say, oh, this person isn't like the rest, right? And all that takes is a couple of seconds of hesitation, a couple of words that sound like you're totally unsure of yourself to just biff it the whole thing. And so the most common objections that we get are no longer interested, already took care of it, I don't have time, or, and no, I think that's pretty much it. I don't have time. Oh, and then just, what's the quote, right? Which I think that's probably an easy one to get over. So we want to role play two of those? Which two do you get the?
Yeah, let's go. Why don't you pick? So I don't want people to feel like, oh, Dana prepped Anthony. So you just throw something at me.
Okay, so I guess you would be calling me then, right? Do you want to do an opener or do you want me to just give you an objection?
Why don't we do an opener and see how we go?
Okay, so give me a call.
All right. And I want to preface, I've never sold insurance. I have never sold final expense to the audience, but that doesn't matter because when you've got the right framework, it goes. So I might say a couple of things here that may not make sense from the standpoint of the industry because it's a bit
Sure.
different here in Australia. but let's just roll with it. All right. So I'm calling you, and is this typically a lead, Dana? You want me to do a lead where you've opted in
Yeah.
for something a while
It's an
back?
opt-in. It's an opt-in internet lead.
Okay, opt-in internet lead. All right, let's do it.
Okay.
So ring ring.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, Dana.
Yeah. Who's this?
Yeah, Dana, it's Anthony. Anthony Vizzari from XYZ. It looks like about a couple of hours ago you reached out about possibly getting some protection in place for your family when something happens to you. I just had a minute to get back
Oh,
to you just to see if we could help.
yeah. I'm sorry. I really am not interested anymore, but thanks for calling.
Oh, are you telling me that your phone's probably been going off the past few days and you didn't sign up for a bunch of phone calls from agents looking at helping? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, my phone, I'm about to throw my phone out the window.
Hey, I don't blame you. What are we going to do with these people calling? Why don't I just update the system? That way we can update that on our end. So, just so I understand, did you end up finding what you were looking for? Like, who did you go with? Just so I know.
Oh, I didn't. It's just too expensive. I can't afford it. I'm on a fixed income.
Oh, that's not a problem. I guess did somebody walk you through some of the options just to see if you could even get some help with that to begin with, or did they just kind of like hang up on you and throw you to the curve the second you said you weren't interested?
Um, most of them I didn't talk to. One of them,
Yeah.
took maybe a few minutes with me, and I asked for a quote for
Okay.
20,000, and I just can't afford it.
Yeah, that's not an issue. That does seem fairly high. Just to see if it even makes sense, whilst I update the system, if I could ask, what even caused you to be like, hey, it might be time for me to look at even getting some possible insurance in the first place? Like, what caused you to do that?
I just want to make sure my kids, don't have to come out of pocket.
Or and when you say, like when you say out of pocket, what led you to feel like, all right, it might be time to look at getting some protection for them? Like, what's recently shifted, I guess, that caused you to maybe want to prioritize that now, though?
Perfect. And we're in Discovery. Boom.
We're in.
We're in.
All right. Yeah.
So
Here we go.
my favorite part about all of it was all of it, by the way. But because I know that you would do this, even if it wasn't on Zoom, that your
Mm.
whole facial expression was
Mm.
matching your tone. You
Yes.
looked curious, you looked concerned, you leaned in, and it was like an entire performance delivered perfectly. And totally let my guard down. And I think that's a lot harder to do than you make it
Yeah.
appear to be.
Well, I want to touch on that because you said something super important there. You identified the facial expressions. And the thing we have to realize as salespeople, even if you're not on Zoom, is your face is the remote control to your tone. So if you want to sound a certain way, you have to look a certain way. My face controls my tonality. If I want to sound curious, I need to look curious. If I want to sound challenging, I've got to look challenging. This is the biggest mistake final expense salespeople make when they're not on Zoom because they're calling. They
Mhm.
feel they don't need to use their body language or they don't need to use their face because they can't see them. Even if your prospect can't see you, they're making a picture out in their mind based on what you sound like. So you have to look the way you're trying to sound. That's the biggest lesson a lot of final expense salespeople, once they realize it, it kind of changes everything for them.
The next one I want to do is I don't have time, but I want to share just a quick story. I was doing a training call months ago on Zoom with my team, and we were doing
Right.
some role plays, and I wanted to hear what they sounded like, and I was watching them, and I had one agent, no joke, this was him, right? And he was role playing like this.
Could be trouble.
And I said, "Is that what you're doing when you're on the phone with people?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah." And I'm telling you, I bet that is not uncommon to find that there are just people with this type of like lazy type attitude, where if you don't just take this as serious as you would any other sport, the results that you'll get will be a complete reflection of everything outside of your voice. I mean, you find that too?
100%. You have to show up being present. I thought they can hear that. They can feel that, So I think the biggest mistake people make is they feel like it's just the words. And we see this a lot. There's a lot of salespeople that feel like if I just had the perfect script and I had the perfect words, everything will be okay. But we see this on any sales floor. You give the same agents the same script, the same offerings, the same products, the same price points for the most part. Why do some people outperform others?
Because they have better leads, duh.
Yeah, they have better leads, or their hair's a different color, or they're calling at the right time of day. That does not matter. It all
Yeah.
comes down to skill set. That's your body language, it's your tonality, that's your verbal cues, your verbal pacing. There are so many levels to the game, and you have to master all the levels if you truly want to be a top 1% sales rep in our economy.
I love it. Okay, let's do the I don't have time, because we do get that one a lot. And the nails on the chalkboard response for me is, okay, what time can I call you back?
Could be trouble. Yeah. Yeah. So do you want me to do another outbound call and then lead into that, Dana, or how do you want to run that?
Yeah, just do it the same way, and I'll just give you I don't have time objection.
Okay, perfect. All right. Let me pull up my phone. Ring ring.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Dana.
Who's this?
Hey, it's just Anthony. I'm licensed with the state. It looks like you recently put in a request about looking at, what do I see here? Looking at some possible financial protection for when something happens.
Oh, yeah, I did. But you know what, Anthony? It's not a good time right now. I'm really busy. Can you call me back maybe at like 5 o'clock tonight?
Yeah, that's not a problem. And just to see if it even makes sense for me to call you back at 5. I guess when you went through the ad, what was it that you saw that caused you to want to even, I guess, look into this further?
Well, because I don't have any. So, I just starting to get older.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if it would make sense for you. But I guess when you say you're getting older, like what's recently shifted that's caused you to feel like, hey, it might be time for me to look at getting some protection in place for, when something does happen to me. Like what caused you to feel like maybe now's the right time?
Well, people around me and in my life,
Yeah.
they're passing away and they're starting to get sick. And even though I don't feel old, there are people my age that are starting to pass away, and
Yeah.
what it's doing.
Yeah, that it's the world we live in. So I just want to say kudos to you for actually taking that step and wanting to go over some of the options.
Mhm.
You'd be surprised how many people out there, Dana, they just put off putting that protection in place for their family until it's too late. So the fact that you're even out there looking, it tells me that you want to put your family in the best position when something happens to you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Boom, we're in
If I,
discovery again. Are
there we
you gonna
go.
ask me the question? Okay, I'll let you off.
That's all right. Yeah.
Okay, another thing that I noticed that you did, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but when you're introducing yourself, I notice a little stutter in the it's Anthony. You're doing a little it's Anthony type of thing. Is that intentional, or what's that about?
Yeah. Yeah, because most final expense agents, they will call and they'll say, hey Dana, this is Anthony Vizzari from XYZ. The reason for my call today is I saw you click. That's when they hang up because
Sure.
salesperson. Now, if I'm acting confused, using a confused tonality, which a stutter adds to that, that helps me come across in a way where the prospect wants to listen to what I'm saying because I've piqued their curiosity into what I'm saying. That's why I'll say something like that. And the tone, more importantly, I'm using as well, Dana, is a familiarity tone, especially for a lead that has opted in. So I say, hey Dana, yeah Dana, it's Anthony. Anthony, I'm licensed with the state. It looks like you recently reached out about getting some possible outside help with protecting your family when something happens. I just had a minute to get back to you just to see if I could help. Yeah, it's Anthony. Anthony Vizzari. I'm licensed with the state. I can see you. Familiar tone.
Yeah.
Remember my body language. Yeah, it's Anthony. Anthony Vizzari. I'm licensed with the state. Like I'm acting the way I want to sound.
And your
I
voice
want
and your
everybody to
face
get that.
too. It matches.
Correct. Exactly. Yes.
So a lot has changed in the past 2 years with seventh level. I mean, you guys were already big when I came in and invested. 2 years later, got 25,000 people to register for a 5-day challenge. And you say
Yeah.
1 out of 5 show up. How many people of those, 5,000, are buying into um, improving themselves?
Yeah, well, it does vary over the 5 days. I haven't looked at the data for today coming through because we just ended it, but we'll
Oh,
always
you
get
did.
a few hundred people, around 300, 400, depending on the challenge. So there's committed people out there. Don't get me wrong. They come for
Yeah.
5 days. They show up every day, and many of them make that decision to move forward.
Well, if I were to give my personal opinion
Well,
of
you were a client, so you're probably the best person to give an opinion, not me.
I,
I'm the bias guy, right?
well, absolutely. And I get no, for full disclosure, I have no financial incentive from seventh level, NEPQ, Jeremy Mine, none. I'm just a fan, right? I would be called a raving fan who you guys played such a big part in making my personal conversion rate. I was fluttering around 25 to 30% conversion rate. And after I completed my modules, I mean, immediately,
Yeah.
overnight, I was at like 70%. It was like nobody could get past me, but I learned a lot about, um, about really making sure that I'm on the phone with someone who is a buyer. That really helped me a lot, which I wasn't aware I was going to learn that. And then at the end, how to really hold people accountable for wanting to buy something and helping them get out of their own way to change their way of thinking. And I just love it. And I teach it and I'm just obsessed with it. And I don't understand why people don't buy it. So what are some of the reasons why you think people don't invest in this program?
I think the biggest one is it comes down to that most people out there that are not where they want to be in sales, they're the objection that they give. What do I mean by that? If you're a sales rep out there and you're always struggling with the this is too expensive objection, for a lot of those people, if you peel back the layer of the onion, that's the same objection that they give. So the biggest thing that I had to learn the hard way was if I am going to get somebody to get outside their comfort zone as the prospect, right? I'm trying to help someone protect their family. I am kidding myself if I'm not willing to do that on my end because I don't know what it feels like. How could you possibly overcome an it's too expensive objection if that's the objection you have in your mind? So when the prospect hits you with the partner objections, too expensive, I don't have the time for this, you don't know what it feels like to overcome that. So then you start buying into the prospect's limiting beliefs and their limitations. That's the number one. They just don't overcome their own internal conflict. You know this, Dana. If
Mhm.
you can't address your own objections, when you get hit on the phones, your body has so much internal conflict, you just don't know how to overcome it. So that would have to be the most common reason why someone doesn't invest in themselves. They just have this barrier that they need to get past.
It's almost like you have a crystal ball that is visible, that everybody should be able to see and say, I don't have to feel that internal tension and conflict
Yeah.
when someone gives me an objection. I welcome it and I know exactly how to handle it because
Yeah.
I've been taught the correct way. And it's empowering, in fact, to know
Yeah.
how to take any objection and understand the framework behind it, really help somebody make their own decision to make a change instead of us pushing them to make a change by saying things like, oh, we're just getting you an approval. You can't just buy life insurance. It's something we have to get you approved for first. And it's like all this push, push, push. All it does is make the customers back off from what I've seen. But I guess what I'm struggling with the most is, so I have this crystal ball, right? I know it works. I'm trying to teach my team to do this framework. They get it for free.
Yeah. Right.
And they don't use it. What is that about? Not all of them. So sorry, team. Not all of you. But why do they still resist it when they have the formula and the coaching? You have to see that in your inner circle stuff.
Totally. The concept I want to speak about, which is caused by that, is it comes down to, there are so many salespeople out there, your audience included. They just have this misconception and belief that selling is something you do to people. They've got this limiting belief in their mind that, because this is how the world, Hollywood and all of that, they portray sales. They portray salespeople as you're doing something to somebody. You're taking from them, or you're stealing from them, or you're manipulating them. The top 1%, the ones that actually learn, invest, educate themselves, they genuinely believe that selling is something you do for people. Right. This is the biggest. If there is one thing your audience takes away from this, I want them to understand. If you're on a sales call and you have a belief that selling is something you do for somebody, you will outsell anybody 10 to 1, because you know that if I let you off this phone call and you not buying my solution, you're going to go to bed worse off tonight. So there's this barrier and this limiting belief that they're doing something wrong. And because of that, as soon as a training opportunity comes up, like, hey, Dana's going to train our team for free, which you're doing, their body is just resisting it because of their belief, their internal belief that they're doing something to somebody. So they don't even know it, but they're naturally resisting the training because they don't want to learn the skills, or they don't want to put in the time that it's going to take them to get better. So selling is serving. I'm not doing something to you. I'm doing something for you. If I sell you tonight, when your head hits the pillow, you're going to bed better off because of what I did.
Now,
that's what it comes down to.
Do you find this also to be true with the sales reps at 7th level that are trying to get, consumers to purchase the sales program? Do they also struggle with it just like everybody else? There's no superhuman special person here.
Human behavior, 100%. 100%. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're selling. In any arena, there's going to be people that are still perceiving themselves doing something wrong, which is not the case. So it really does start with that internal belief. Then you get the confidence. Because even, Dana, I can give 2 people the exact same script. I can write a 7th level final expense script like we do for our clients, as you know, in Advance in a Circle. I can give that to a prospect that doesn't have the belief inside of them that what they're doing is right. And then I can give somebody a terrible script, but deep down, they know they're doing something for the prospect. Who's going to outsell the other person?
The latter.
Well, the person with the belief.
Right.
Even if they don't have the right words. Now, the words are definitely going to help, but there is so much more to it. Most salespeople just aren't willing to look past the lies that they tell themselves every day that they're actually there to help somebody. And this is because they buy into that from the prospect. They're just buying in every time they get an objection. It just keeps filling up that cup. You're doing something wrong. You're manipulating. No, salespeople, I mean, the world economy, nothing would exist. The world wouldn't move if it wasn't for salespeople. So we have to stop believing the lie that so many people put on us that we're doing something bad to people when we're really not, as you know.
So you just kind of gave me sort of an aha moment where I have a feeling, this is my hypothesis, that the people that come out of the NEPQ program successful, and I would consider myself a successful student, that I already had the belief right? Which is why I was already at a 25, 30% with a bad
Yeah.
script, what I would
Right.
consider a bad script. So you didn't have to teach me that. That has to be really hard to teach, right? To teach someone that belief that they know that I'm not doing anything to you, I'm doing something for you. And so all you had to do is take someone who already believes and give them a structure, a better structure to follow. That has to be the easy part. So it's not,
Yeah.
oh, my mind is blown. So it's not the script itself that I thought was the magic. It's really like internal, right? That belief, internal belief is you can't teach that. Is it can you?
You can highlight it. You can spotlight it. And there's nothing that highlights it more than being surrounded by a group of individuals that will understand it. Like you're the
Mhm.
sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're
Sure.
spending time with the 5 agents that are always complaining, the leads are this, the leads are that, yada,
Hmm.
yada, yada, that's once again, that's feeding your ear. But if you put yourself in an arena where you can see, wow, there are like levels to this game. For example, when you come into NEPQ, it's like, I remember when I first did it, I was like, whoa, I mean, there's people out there doing better than me. That's crazy. I didn't know that existed. So once you see that, that kind of motivates you. And then you're like, what are they doing? Well, what do they know that I don't know? So you just have to be willing to understand that, hey, there are things out there. Like on the chat, on the 5-day workshop we just finished, I asked the question on day 5. I said, who here has been in sales longer than 20 years? And someone's like 30. I was like, wow, 30 years, good on you. Then someone said 40. And then someone said 55. And then
Whoa.
one person said, I've been in sales for 63 years. And I had to applaud them. I'm like, 63 years in sales and you're still here because you know there's more out there that you don't know. I want to commend you for that, because there's a lot of people that they've got this big ego, they know better and they don't want to listen to anybody. Back to what you
Right.
said before. They just think they know better. Well, if you do know better, then the next question is, are you 100% happy with the results you're seeing? Because if the
Right.
answer is no, then maybe, just maybe, Dana can teach you something, or there's somebody out there that knows something that you don't. So it once again, it comes down to that internal belief. And then the biggest lesson as well, Dana, that we teach is, if you want your confidence to go up, your skill level has to go up. The fastest
Hmm.
way to be more confident on your calls is increase your skill level.
Right.
It's
So,
quite
I mean,
simple.
they do have to go together. Absolutely. I had COVID actually
Yeah.
when I was going through the modules or the whole challenge. I bought the module. I still had COVID. I was 103 fever, super sick, rewrote my entire script for a whole week, didn't even get on the phones, practiced it out loud, recorded myself. I had it taped to the back of my shower so I could memorize all like the clarifying questions. And then it was like I always described my team like a beautiful mind, where I'm just like seeing all the bubbles like come up in my head, where I would picture, okay, if the person says this, this is what I'm going to say. And then if they say this, I'm going to say this. So it's like you already know. So by the time I took my first call, and I think that a lot of agents don't do this, by the time I took my first call, I've already had this conversation with you 100 times.
Yeah.
My first call post NEPQ.
Yep.
I think that's an important piece of the puzzle too, right? How many
Well,
people pull up a script and they're just like, okay, I skimmed through it. Let's go.
yeah. Yeah. And they're not ready. And this is the thing. The thing I love about when your skill level is so high and you've taken the time to, invest in yourself and get better, is the competition at the top is barely non-existent.
Mhm.
Most people out there, especially in sales, they're the mediocre many. They're fighting for the scraps at the bottom. But when you have the skills and you make the decision to become one of the fantastic few, who are you really competing with? There's not many people up there at the top. So once you got that skill level, you just shine so far beyond everybody else in the industry. And that's why people like yourself can significantly outsell and exceed targets compared to the majority out there. That's the beautiful thing about being at the top.
You know, I stopped selling shortly after so that I
Yep.
could then build a bigger team and teach them how to
Right.
do it. So if you guys ever develop modules on how to be a better leader and how to be a better teacher, I'll be your first student. Because sometimes I feel like
Stay tuned.
sometimes I feel like maybe it's me, right? Maybe I'm not communicating it effectively. And so there's still that part of me that feels like, well, I really haven't explored 100% of maybe what can I do to communicate these lessons and reinforce them in
Yeah.
different ways, because everybody learns differently, right? And
Sure.
there's a whole other, I know there's a whole other level that I have not yet unlocked. And I'm very excited about that, by the way.
Yeah, we might be working on something there, so I'll keep you posted on that, Dana.
Okay, good. So when is your next challenge? When can people sign up to see you live in action? You do not want to miss out on Anthony live. He's amazing, as you've already seen.
We haven't planned it yet, but we might be running one, I would say, early next year.
Okay.
But the best way for people to just keep up to date when it's going to be is by joining the Facebook group, which you know about, and that's Sales Revolution .group. They can join that. We just hit 150,000 salespeople in there a couple of days ago, so pretty proud about that. And yeah,
That's in the
there's a lot
Facebook.
going on in that group. But yeah,
Yeah.
in Facebook, yeah, Facebook group. It's funny because 4 years ago there was nobody in there, and over the past 4 years, it's growing quite rapidly with the business, and yeah, just a lot of people out there. They're looking for help. That's what that shows.
It's amazing. I think when I joined that group, there was like 10,000.
Yep, there you go.
So I'm going to put you on the
Just a
spot
bit
with
bigger.
one more thing before I let you go.
Okay.
And I'll edit this if you don't have anything and take it out. Do you have any sort of promo code that we can offer our viewers to buy an EPQ if they watch this video? Anything?
What I can do is we can start them off with the black book of questions, Dana. So if they go in the Facebook group, Dana's podcast, Hearing Anthony Vizzari, can you please send me the black book of questions?
Okay.
We'll give that to them. So rather than them having, I think we
Value of
sell it.
that,
I think we sell it for just under $100.
like 99 something. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. I can give you the exact amount.
So they go to Facebook, they join the Sales Revolution Facebook group, and then you want them to post Dana and Anthony's podcast, send me the black book of questions. Yeah?
Correct. And we'll give that to them. It's a really good way for them to start that, because they can go through the most common questions that they should be asking within their structure, which works with human behavior, not against it. I think that's a really good place to start. It'll start to open their minds up to, wow, maybe I'm saying something that's causing resistance. So that would help with that.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that. So you guys heard it first. Go to Facebook, join the Sales Revolution page if you're not already there. If you don't want to purchase the black book of questions, you just post on there that you saw this video, and Anthony and his team will send that to you for free. This has been amazing. I could talk to you for hours, and I'm so grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to come talk to me today. And hopefully we don't go another 2 years, but I'm a super fan. So I will keep following you and liking all your posts.
It's a pleasure. I hope everybody got something out of this. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. This has been great.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks, Dana.